Okay, so hi guys. Today we're going to do Forge, which is a medium ranked box on HackTheBox. It's supposed to cover some server side request forgery to gain the foothold, um, so that we may be able to access a subdomain that we don't have permissions to view. And from that, we're going to get some creds, use FTP, and then we can get the SSH key and log in as the user. To get the root flag, we are supposed to use the Python debugger module and previous our way into root. So I'm guessing we can now start. And I forgot to connect to the VPN. Sorry. So VPN. So let me connect real quick. And we're done. So we can start with an nmap scan. So okay, confirm it's up. And I'm going to use an alias that I have. It's called nscan. So it's basically going to run nmap sc for the default script, sv for server enumeration, sorry, and then it's going to save the output in a file called nmapscan.txt. So um, let's give it some time. And let's see. Okay. Okay. So they were wait. In the meantime, we can be enumerating the web server because as you saw, port 80 was open and there was a web server, so we can do that. And we can see we get redirected to forge.htb. So I hope that my screen is like visible. John, maybe you can confirm that if the screen is visible enough, the terminal, or maybe I need to zoom in.
Yeah, it is. It's
Oh, it's
visible.
visible. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So since we are getting redirected to forge.htb, we can go ahead and add that into our Etsy host file. So I'm going to use PI, and the IP supposed to be forge.htb, and we can save that. So now we can go into our browser and type in forge.htb, and we can see it's just a normal website. So it can be running some other enumeration tools. We're going to look into that a bit in a moment. So give me a minute. So forge.htb txt. So dsearch is another alias that uses the search tool to do some directory brute forcing. Using Python, and it's supposed to get the extension PHP, TXT, HTML, and CSS and JS. So since the nmap scan was done, we can actually just look at the output, and we can see we have 3 ports open: port 21 for FTP, which is filtered; port 22 open SSH; and port 80 HTTP Apache, which tells us it's an Ubuntu server. So the reason why nmap is telling us that port 21 is filtered, it's because it's reacting in a different way than the way the other ports should be reacting when it's testing for the open ports. And yeah, so that's the simplest way I can actually put it. And with that information, we can go back to this, to our directory brute forcing, and we see we have a couple of endpoints. We have static, uploads, and upload. So you can go ahead and interact with it, but I want to be doing some subdomain enumeration first. So we're going to use f of http um, forge.http w, and I'm going to use the subdomain top 1,005,000 texts and hosts was forge.http. I'm going to use some different endpoints. Okay. So so I'm going to be using tag MC and tag AC. So tag MC all means match all the cases, and tag AC means auto calibration, and it's supposed to detect the false positives and then give you like the legit output of the subdomains which are found. And right off the bat, we can see that there is an admin subdomain, so we can go ahead and add that into our Etsy host file. So, oh, sorry. Um, so it was admin.forge.gb. And with that, we can actually try and see what that subdomain has. So admin.forge, and you can see that only local host is allowed. So we're going to get to that later. Um, since there was an upload panel, we can actually try and interact with that. We have two options: to upload from a file and to upload from a URL. So we can first interact with the file. Um, I'm going to put this image, the Forge image for the box. And when we submit it, oh yeah, and when you submit it, we get this. So the file uploaded successfully, and we're given the URL to access it. So let's try and access it. So my internet is down. And you can see it's loading the Forge image. So one thing you can notice about this is that there is some renaming going on of the file, and this might be an exploit or a factor itself that we may be using to be able to get maybe an LFI or even an RCE onto the server. But one main issue is that we don't know the technology that's running in the backend. Um, we can actually just quickly test this by going to the root of the web server, so forge.htb, and we can try accessing index.html to test if it's running HTML, and we find it's not found. We can try PHP, but it's not found. Um, it's not found also. So when we try index, it's not found. So this server, it's possibly running Python backend, and most probably going to be Flask, because in Flask you actually and stuff. We can actually try and validate this using our mobilizer, but wait, mobilizer is saying there's some PHP, but this was wrong. There isn't any PHP running. Let's see, but I'm guessing it's because of the history that I've cache of the server, and that's why mobilizer it's saying it's running PHP, but it's not running PHP. So our actually main target, or our main technology that we're suspecting to be running, it's Python and maybe Flask. So since it may be running Flask, the upload via file part proves to be kind of useless right now. But we have the URL from upload for my URL, and we can actually use this to test it. So I'm actually going to enter into my downloads folder, um, and we can open a server there. So server, Okay, just confirm. Um, Opalizer. Yeah. Okay, we can check the headers. So um, we can actually just do that for the headers. Forge.htp. Um, and use stack I. And in the headers, we find nothing. Yep. So the headers aren't helping that much. So we're just going to go on ahead with the upload from the URL part. So I'm in my downloads folder and I am going to open a server, a simple server, Python HTTP server on port that. I forgot to check my IP and 10.10.14.107. Copy that. You can try accessing this and seeing what happens. So HTTP, paste that in on port 8000. We want to access forge.g. Um, and if we do that, we can see it got the file and it successfully uploaded it. We can actually just check. Oh, wait, it's a different one. Oh, okay, weird. Let's try reloading this. Okay, upload from my URL, IP 48,000 forge, submit. Yeah, so, oh, sorry, guide. Yeah. And it got the file. Okay, got a bit confused there. So that worked. We actually try to see if you can get internal files from the web server using some server-side request forgery. So we can access the local hosts and see what happens. And when we do that, we are told that the URL contains a blacklisted address. A localhost IP 127.0.0.1 and sequence. So 127.0.0.1. Let's see, and same response. We can try accessing the internal server by using the HTTP forge.htp, and we still get the same response. So it's probably going to check for what's it called? For those three inputs and check if they're there. If they're there, it's going to tell us they're blacklisted. Otherwise, it's going to continue with probably the rest of the let's say if statement. Um, so we have a couple of ways which you can actually use to bypass this. We can use redirecting, where we set up a listener and then we can redirect all the whatever directly to our server, which then directs it to its own local host. And then we can actually use some weird casing. Um, yeah, let me check if there's an issue. Okay, yeah, in the main page. Okay. No worries. So we can continue now. To be able to get this, so I'm going to turn off the server, and I'm guessing we can actually just go back to the file. So when we upload from the URL, okay. So one thing I said we can try is maybe using some weird casing, and by weird casing, I mean, for example, instead of accessing HTTP forge.hf was it's not like validating if maybe it's got any uppercase or lowercase in
Hey
it.
Martin.
So
Hi.
this, yeah, yeah.
I have one question. Did you like move do you move your machine further away from where it was? Like did you
Why?
move it? 'Cause you're kind of breaking, and when we were starting the call it was okay. So I'm not sure.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay. Let me. Is it good now?
Um
Okay, I
uh
think that is it
oh
better.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Okay, okay. So okay, I was saying instead of trying to like access our, let's say, forge.htb directly, which will obviously get caught with the validation that's going on, we can actually just use some weird casing, like using capital and small letters in between the words, which will be able to actually bypass this, because the check, it's probably going to be an if statement that's checked. And for that, let's try it and see if it works. So we can try with capital O, capital F, sorry, O forge dot capital HTB. And when we submit that, it actually works. And okay, so we're not going to be able to view this via the browser, and it's probably because it's being loaded as an image, and that's why you can see this like a small box there. You can try and access it using card and see what's going on, and we can actually see the source code for the index page. Um, the other way, we could have actually there are three ways we could use. Yeah, there are three ways. So the other way that I meant to do or to use was using a redirect file, which you can actually host on our end, and we can also use some hexing on this end, which will still work. So, for example, if we try to access the hexadecimal of 127.0.0.1, which is supposed to be 0x7f.0.0.1, it's going to work. So 7f.0.0.1, and we can still see it works. So okay, it's not still gonna work. We need to call this, and when we call it, we see okay, it's working, but we get a bad request. Okay, nice. So okay, the other way was using the redirect file, and we can actually just try this. We can try it on the IP. I just want to get the headers, and then we can do this. So we can try this in verbose, and where the headers, this is the part that I want. Clear and then nano rec or requests in short. And you can post that in. Um, I need to get rid of this, actually this, and this, and this, and this. So, okay, sorry. With that, we can now try this. We need to set up our listener. So nc tag nlvp vp port, let's say port 8000, and any request that gets addressed here should get this file. So let's try that. HTTP, um, my IP, so a minute, And now, okay, sorry for that. And now we can just try accessing it directly. So let's cut it to here, and we can, oh, I forgot something. I forgot something. Okay, wait, let's see. Let's see. I forgot to change this header. But okay, let's see. So you can see it got the whatever. It got the connection, but not sure why it isn't going through. So I probably messed up with something here. Um, but okay, let's just use what we have for now. Um, so since we already know how to bypass this, we can actually use this SSRF to try and access the admin panel or the admin subdomain, because we actually saw we were supposed to only access it via being on the local host. So it was admin. And you can see we were told that only localhosts was allowed. So with that, we can actually try and access it, sorry, directly, and we're going to be using the weird casing. So admin dot so put a capital O forage dot HTTP, and let's see what the contents are. So let me first of all reload the page. Um, I need it to be clean. You can actually just try to access it. So admin.forge.hp, and it works. Get a redirect. So we can actually try and see the contents of the admin page, and nice. So we got access. We can see it's the admin, it's the HTTP page to the index.html possibly. And okay. Um and we can see the admin portal, portal home. We have the announcements endpoint, and you can see there's also an upload part. And you can see here being told welcome admins. So I can actually save this to admin.index. And with that, we can now try to access um, the announcements page as we saw. So admin.index, we can try to access the announcements endpoint. So admin, uh, it's also here. So we can just do that. And when we submit it, we get this. So let's see. We can call this, and um, we can see the title is announcements. So let me pipe this into admin.announcements, and now we can cut admin.announcement. So we can see there is a couple of listing here, and we can see an internal internal FTP server has been set up with these credentials: user and H of security 123 exclamation mark. And we can see the upload endpoint now supports FTP, FTTPS, HTTP, and HTTPS protocols for uploading from a URL. FTPS for file transfer protocol secure. Okay, and we can see the upload endpoint has been configured for easy scripting of uploads. Yeah, and for uploading an image, one can simply pass a URL with a question mark u, and this is actually going to be the HTML encoding for the greater sign and the less sign, whatever. We can actually just view this. So admin announcements, because it's a HTML page. Um, okay, I need to save it as .html, but no worries. Um, we can see that. So admin.announcements.html. Do that. Okay, sorry, messed it up somewhere. admin. So, and now we can use brave admin underscore, and it's supposed to be formatted. Yeah. And you can see it's the opening and the closing brackets. So with that, we can actually try and see what's in the FTP server in its root. So for this, we're going to have to do a little bit of crafting. It's not going to be that hard. This was actually a really easy box to be medium. But I'm guessing it's because of the FTP part. So we're going to put our payload like this. So HTTP slash admin uh, dot forge dot HTTP slash upload. And remember, we had been told we need to use um, the U parameter. So question mark U, and we need to know how to use FTP directly because we have the creds. So you can actually just head on to Google and search for that. Add find a really good marked a really good whatever source for this. It's actually a straightforward one. We can actually just gonna okay, it's gonna ban me. Yeah, remember that. Maybe I'll send it later. And with this, you can see Apache how you're supposed to, actually it's not this one here, how you're supposed to use it when you're accessing it with a web browser. So so you should be equals to file, okay, FTP, sorry, not file, FTP, and then we need to put the username and the password. Luckily, we opened it here, so we're going to copy it directly the way it is. Okay, um, paste it in here, and to separate this, we need to put an @ sign, and then we can actually just put in the localhost IP. But remember, the localhost IP was being validated and knocked off by the request. So we can actually just use the hex encoding. So 0x7f for 127.0 doesn't have an encoding, .0, and 1 also doesn't have an encoding. So we can actually just try this and see if it works. So we can copy this, and this is going to mess me. Some things are going to mess me up, but let's see. Um, upload from URL, paste this in, and submit, and it works nice. So let's just call this and see what's going on. Yep, it didn't work. There was an issue with the position, whatever, encoding. So I'm going to just edit it from here. Okay, I didn't even copy it. Wow. Um, copy this, paste it in 127.0.0.1. Yeah, so I need to get rid of this, and it's hopefully going to work. So paste this in, submit it. The heck? Okay, let me just use Sublime to craft the whatever really well. Okay. So capital E, capital T, capital N, and I'm guessing the rest of it is good. So paste it in, submit it, and nice, it works. So we can actually just call it, and nice, we see the contents of the FTP root, which is probably going to be the root of this user whose ID is 1000. Okay. So with that, we can actually just try and see if there's possibly what an ID underscore RSA key, and if there is, we can actually just get the RSA keys and log in as the user. Sorry. So let's continue. Um, okay, wrong payload with Sublime. Copy this, paste it in, and so drop this is Sage. and you need to put that in. I actually want to remove this the trailing backslash from the request, and it's going to look something like this. So .ssh. I'm not sure if it's visible enough. Yeah, I'm guessing that's better. So we can actually try this, and when you try this, we're going to get an error. Um, and I want to explain why there's an error. So copy this link, and then you can call it, and you can see um, we get 500 internal server error. So the reason why we're getting this error, it's because FTP isn't as smart enough as which as HTTP or HTTPS, in the sense that when you do a call, we can actually just try this HTTP, let's say forge dot HTTP slash uploads. Let's do that. Um, we can actually just do check v, and yeah, so it worked. And you see, when I forgot to do the trailing backslash in HTTP, HTTP is smart enough to tell me that it's been moved, or the location I got was wrong. It's supposed to be, it's supposed to have a trailing backslash. But when we're working with FTP, it isn't that smart enough. Um, and that's why we need to be like super careful when you're working with directories. You need to be able to, you need to remember to add the trailing backslash. So copy this and do that. So with this, let's see if we have any SSH keys lying around, and that worked. So we can just call this, and nice. So we can see there is indeed an SSH IDRSA, and the IDRSA pub. So the one we're interested in is underscore IDRSA. So let's get it. So copy this, paste it in. So ID underscore RSA. Copy this and upload. Okay, paste that in. Nice. Copy this link, and we can call this, and we get the SSH key. So we can now save this in file, give it the necessary permissions, and then log in as the user. So ID underscore RSA. Save it and blah. Okay, so there's one trick that I need to add. Um, let's say whenever we were doing this box, we don't know the username apart from this username that has been supplied here, which is user. So this indeed might be the user, and in this case it is. But let's say it's not. So what can we do? Remember in the directory listing, we had the authorized keys ID underscore RSA and the ID underscore RSA dot pub, the public key. So in normal cases, the public key, my goodness, uh, has usually has the username, as it needs to be able to identify the SSH key uh, to the user. So we can actually just quickly check that, submit, get the link, and let's see. Wow. Yeah, nice. So it responded, and you can see. So the username of this user is indeed user. So it's user at Forge, which is the name of the box of the server. So this is another nice trick to be able to get the username of a specific IDRSA key. So since we already have the IDRSA key, we need, okay, a minute. Let me get things a little bit neat in here. Wait, why did I do this? Okay. Uh, mkdir files. Then I can move admin is admin. Oh, yeah. And then that into the files, whatever. Oh, sorry. So got this name wrong into files. My goodness. Oh, they moved. Okay, no problem. And now we get to work with the idea receipt. So we're actually like done with using the browser. So let's give it the necessary permissions. So we can actually use chmod 600 id underscore receipt, and we can ssh in as the user. So user at forge.http for the file, and then id and that. So okay, I'm it. And I actually think I know why it's not gonna work. Okay, it worked. Okay. So with that we are in. And if we list the files, we have the user, and nice, we get the user flag. So the really important key to getting the user or the foothold was actually having um, good knowledge on the server side request forgery and how it works, and how you can actually convert it, uh, actually not convert it, but use it into your advantage as possibly, let's say just possibly as a LFI. Because yeah, okay. So now that we're done with the user part, we can actually go to the root part. So we can actually just check if we have any permissions with sudo tag l, and we can see that we can run this script that is in the up directory called the remote manage using Python. So one thing which is really good to be checking whenever you are doing a previous, um, you can actually just go into the root of the file system and check if you have any permissions over that directory. So in this case, we don't have any permissions in the up directory. We can actually just check further if we have permissions for the file, because if we did have permissions, we can possibly like rename this file or delete all the contents of the file and then put in a malicious script, and then we can run it as sudo. So that's another way. But since you're not, let's go on ahead and see what are the contents of this file. So, okay, it's a Python script. You can see the shebang header. Um, Let me zoom in one step. Okay, nice. So we can see it's importing the socket module or library, whatever. Importing random, it's importing subprocess, and it's importing PDB. So PDB is actually the Python debugger, which you can use whenever we get into, let's say, an issue. So, and we can, okay, let's continue. We can see there is a variable called port, and it's generating a random integer from 10, 25 to 65, 35. Okay, so that's reasonable. And then we can see this try, and inside the try we can see, let's say from here up to here, I can actually say that we are setting up the connections, and so this is actually setting up these two are actually setting up the port, and then this is going to bind the port to this IP, the localhost IP. So to be able to access the service that's running, we need to connect to the machine inside the localhost back to the port that's going to be generated. Okay, so after all the connection and setting up is done, we can actually, it brings to you the it tells you that you can access this on localhost on that port, and if any connections are made, it's supposed to accept, and after accepting, it now starts. It's going to send this part to that port. So we are being told to enter the secret password, and luckily enough, we have the secret password right here in plain text. And you can see if the password isn't the same as this, it's supposed to tell you wrong password. Otherwise, it's supposed to tell you welcome admin. So after that, we enter this while loop. And you can see it's telling us what do we want to do. So there's one how view processes, view the free memory, view to the listening sockets, and then you can quit. So this is one vulnerability. Okay, like it's not a vulnerability, but it's actually good practice. Whenever you're dealing with data input from let's say the user. So in this case, it's we're actually working with numbers. You need to specify that to be numbers and not use some absurd methods like using the gets. So that's actually good practice, and we can see whatever data that we're going to give it, it's going to save it into this variable called options, and then it's going to go into an if else nested if else. So it's going to check is our option equals to the number one. So it's going to if it is, it's going to run the ps aux function. Is it equal to number two? It's going to run the df function. Is it equals to number three? So the ss tackle and t check the listening sockets or ports, whatever. And option four, it's supposed to exit. You can see it's breaking out of the loop. So after that, it's supposed to close. And if get any exception, it's supposed to print wait, try E, try E. Okay. If it gets any exception or like any break in the system, it's saving the exception as the variable E. It's supposed to print this, and then it's supposed to get us directly into, let's say, the debugger. And after we're done with the debugger, we can actually just quit from it. So actually, that was just a by over a pass through of what the code is doing. I hope it's like clear. Hopefully, it's good. So since we already know what the code is doing, okay. Since you already know what the code is doing, we can actually just go on ahead to rest. So for this, we're going to need to have another session open up. So I can actually just detach this and wait. I need to check. Okay, yeah, it's good. It's good. So we need to log in into the box using another session, TTY session, so that we may be able to connect to the port. So let's log in and okay, nice. So we're in and let's run this. So sudo tackle and we need to run this as the sudo user. So copy this and sudo paste that in. Wait, take paste it in really. Okay, mistake. So just py and then run it. So we can see the service or whatever, yeah, the service is running on this port. So we can actually just connect to it if my internet is really slow. We can actually check if netcat is installed. So which netcat? Sorry. And we can see netcat is in there. So we can just go netcat or connect to the local hosts, and it's supposed to be port 54063. You can actually just use verbose mode. Um, and for that, there's actually no issue. So I forgot to get the password. Let's see if we can actually just do that. Cut the script and foreground it real quick. So here's the password. We can actually just copy it in there, and with that, we can see the panel. So what what do you want to do? Do you want to view the process? So since the input is actually going to be integers, there's nothing really big we can do to try and manipulate this, but we can actually force the script to go directly into the debugger, which we can actually just use. So I'm going to put in some string, and you can see it errored out, and we were taken directly into the debugger. So in the debugger, you can actually just execute files directly, not files, commands. So if we try print hello world or hello HB, yeah. So we can see it works. We can actually just, for this, we can actually just use the OS module and reverse cowee into root. So os.system and ID, we can see that we are root. So you can actually just spawn a shell directly, or we can even just set the bin bash binary to have the sweet bit set. So with that, we can see we're already the root user. So when you say, who am I? We can see we are the root user. We can go on into the root directory, and we can cut the contents of the root file. And that was the box. It was a really simple one. Really enjoyed it. Learned a lot about server-side request forgery, and yeah. So another practice that we can actually be doing, as let's say ethical hackers or whatever, um, is trying to do our cleanup. But I won't go far deep into that. But we can see there's a script here, a shell script that's called the clean uploads. So we can actually just see this, or not even that. We can actually, yeah, we can just look at it. So we can see it's just a script. It's running the RM this, and it's probably going to be in a cron job. So we can actually just check this. Should be the cron tab or the cron job command. I usually just get confused with those two. So okay, it's cron tab. Yeah. Cron tab, and you can see the script is supposed to be running in, let's say, 5 minutes. Yeah. So that was the box. You can actually just go on and see what the web server was, not actually was, but what it is. And we can see forge.java. Okay. Let's enter the forge directory and let's cut the routes. So this is actually just going to be Flask. Oh, it's works work workzug. Yeah. Sorry, so it's workzug. Um, yeah. So that was the box. Really interesting one. And yeah, Jamie, when I was saying like Inanga extensions, this is what I was meaning. This is what I was referring to. The routes page, which is actually kind of similar to Node Node's Express. It also has this tendency of using the routes. So that was the box. Really easy and really, really enjoyable. So if you have any questions, Molly is. Um, so we can just exit into this. Exit. Exit. So John, I think I'm done. Okay, so I see some chats. Oh, nice. Okay, so any questions? Anything I didn't clarify?
Actually, I think um, you could know that it's running Python if At the point where you're trying to upload from a URL, you point it to your box. I think you'd see the Python headers.
Yeah, yeah. I think okay. Yeah, we saw the we were trying to and for some reason this isn't closing. Yeah. So any other questions? It was a good one though, good presentation. Thank you for yeah, it was a really nice box. I enjoyed it. If you actually want to learn more on doing some server-side request forgery, we can actually do you can actually do some of these boxes. We have Medium, which actually had some good SSRF, although I didn't do it. But Medium was also oh no, not Medium, Health. Yeah, Health. Yeah, Health was a good box. Um, we also have Opacity. Yeah, it's not close to Opacity. Yeah. Opacity, like when it comes to Opacity, it was a file upload, whatever, using the files, but this is using the links. So another good box for some server-side request forgery was Red Panda. It was also a really good box. So yeah, I think I'm done, John.
Awesome. Um, yeah, so thanks for the amazing session. Um, I remember playing this box and I remember how fast they did code fruit and I was like, fuck. Like, some people are so OP out here. Uh, yeah, so yeah, so awesome. Take care, guys, and see you next time.
Next time, later.